Assalamualaikum and good evening. So today we will present the data analytic report based on the house design preference. My team members is Ikhwan Salihin, Sultan Almudi and me myself Izama Wada. So about the assignment, this is a collaboration between UPM and Ohio University, which OU student has conduct a survey on house design preference, and based on the data that they get, we will clean, process and visualize to understand and see the most current house design preference based on the reports. From the objective, we want to identify the suitable house based on the relationship status, age and gender, to identify most desired basic and additional accessory spaces, to identify the house preference for the married, and lastly, I'm sorry. Lastly,
Why?
do pets owner have a different preference? Okay, next for the proposal analytics.
Wait, Professor.
For the proposal analytics, we want to find out the type house desire based on the relationship. Want to find out the reason behind the most preferred location, predict what type of house preferred based on the relationship or age, discover what accessory spaces that people didn't want or want, and the house preference based on pets that live with the owner. So the tools that we use is Google Colab. Next is the data analytics type, which is descriptive analytics. It is a statistical method that used to search and summarize historical data in order to identify patterns or meaning. The technique data mining in descriptive analytics describe the next step of analysis and involve a search of the data to identify patterns and meaning. For example, from the data set, from the age attributes, we can see the patterns of how many users want the additional accessory spaces. Next is the stakeholder. Is someone that works with the data set and will benefit from the final finding of the project. There are two identity, which is house buyer. That from their perspective, they will tell what they want in their house, from the housing accessory to a suitable place for pets. Next is the house developer, which is house developer team can utilize this data analytics report by having insight into what type of house they should develop according to market preference, or they can use this as an advantage to find their customer markets, which type of customer should aim according to certain attributes. So data mining tasks that we did is clustering, that identification of classes. They also call cluster or groups, which the object is so clustered that intra-class similarities are maximized and inter-class similarities are minimized based on the criteria defined on the attribute objects. For example, in pets attribute, there are many types of answer and divided them into each answer. It can show more specific on who lives with the pets. Next is the association analysis. It is a discovery of connection between the objects. The connection is termed as association rules that reveals the relationship among objects. For example, the appearance of a set of objects is related to another another set of object. For example, in the current house preference dataset, the pets attribute have a connection with the flooring type attributes as pets owner have its own preference of house. Okay, next is the data set description. The data set description is based on the attribute that we use, which is age, gender, gender TXT, relationship status, current living situation, pets, primary consideration, house organization space preference, house type preference, interior preference, desire accessory space, and include accessory space. Next is data pre-processing and exploration. So we use a reduction and impute the missing data. Before we start the data reduction, the column will be renamed properly to make the data readable and easy to understand. By using Google Colab, the column rename is changed by using the code below. Can you show the Google Colab?
This one.
Yes, so as you can see, here we did the rename first to make sure we understand the attributes. Next, number 2, we remove the first and second columns as it is unnecessary spam and discard any spam rows. For example, in the Google Colab, we remove the first and second rows, and then we can see that we remove the spam that has a column that has empty data. Next, we can see there are 4 columns that have no value for every row. So we remove these rows as a data cleansing, which is recipient last name, recipient first name, recipient email, external reference, as these rows are not included into the data visualization. And then next, we remove the unnecessary information that will not help us with the data analytics, such as start date, end date, status, IP address, recorded date, response ID, distribution channel, and user language. As these attributes, most of it used when are taken when users type to answer the survey. Next, we analyze that we can conclude that progress column is related to finish column. Both of these columns indicate if the survey is finished by the participant or not. So, for example, we can see if the surveyor finish answer the question or they just stop at the middle. So from this, we can say that if the participant did not finish the survey, their response might be faulty since they might not finalize their survey. So in this case, we can remove all rows which didn't finish the survey. So there are 47 unfinished response that we have removed. So we managed to get 100% clean without spam and empty row data. So next, I pass to Ikwan.
Okay. Thank you, Ezra. My name is Ikwan. I will do data visualization and analysis for question number 1. So our first question is, which house is suitable for certain type of relationship status? So for the first graph, we ignore the attribute if they have a child or didn't have one. Because in the relationship status, it is actually have the value of if they are married and have children, or single have children, or single no children, like that. So but take we separate them only if they are married or single. So for the first graph, this is because we just want to see a differentiation of house organization preferences based on if they are married or not. And from this graph, it clearly shows that singles are lean towards staying in a multi-story. We can see that 168 of them have chosen to stay in multi-story, while a minority of married choose to stay in single story. So the next one we do, which is from a more specific angle, which I said that married and single, and if they have children or not. From a more specific angle of their relationship status, we can see that those in a relationship who are partnered or married and have a child will beg to differ from those who didn't have a child. Those who have a child would prefer to stay in a multi-story house, while those that didn't have a child would choose to stay a single-story house. Wait, no, it is wrong. Those who have no child would stay in a multi-story house, while those who did not have a child and married usually would like to stay in a single-story house. We can see the relationship clearly from comparing the single without children and married without children bar chart and compare them with the one who has children. So this is the single without children, and this is married but still not have children. Both of them have multi-story as their primary house type, house organization type, compared to the one that is married and have children, which will have lean towards a single story type of house. So next, after going through the relationship attribute, we would like to see if there is a chance if the age group also affect most of the respondent answers. So based on this graph, we can see that most respondent that choose multi-story house are those in the younger generation. And we can see that the number will increase as the number will decrease as the age group increase. Other than that, we can also see that most age group that will choose single story will be those in age 45 and 54, this one. So younger generation will choose to stay in multi-story. We can see the big difference here, big gap, compared to those who are younger and want to live in single story. Next, after knowing that age group will change their preferences, we would like to analyze the relationship between age group and for those who are single and did not have any child. So the trend line is basically exactly the same like this one. This chart completely approves the statement that we made, which is those who are younger prefer to stay in the multi-story house than single story. This is shown from the big difference of gap for those in the age group 18 till 24, which majority of them would prefer multi-story than single story. Next, the chart below clearly shows that relationship status and age do affect their house type preferences. This is because the number of respondents that preferred multi-story house would be decreasing over when the age group is increased. So when they are younger, they will choose multi-story house over single story. But when they are getting older, the number of respondent that choose multi-story will be decreasing and till no at all. Next, now after knowing the relationship status and age relation to their house organization preferences, we now can say that singles or married without children and the younger generation will prefer single story house, while those who are married and having children and those who are growing older tend to prefer a single story house. After finishing analyzing the house organization preferences, we're going to move on to the next column or attribute which hold the house type preferences. So the above was from the house organization column. Next, we are going to go for house type preferences. From this survey, we can conclude that majority of respondents like to stay in single family freestanding type of house compared to another type of house. Out of 515 respondents, 439 of them, regardless of gender, age, relationship status, choose to stay in single family freestanding house. And the second highest type of house rank in a tie where townhouse, duplex, and studio loft type of house both have 21 votes, while the least preferred will be high-rise apartment with 10 or more floors. So from the house type preferences, we can see that there's a big difference, and majority of them would choose single family and single family freestanding type of house. To relate this with their relationship status, we also found that most married also prefer to stay in the single family freestanding type of house. The majority of them choose to stay in single family freestanding compared to another type of house. The below chart shows the overwhelming differences between the chosen type of house and back up the previous chart and statement claim. This one. So this pie chart shows that 93.7% of married choose to stay in single family freestand house. To dig this deeper, we analyzed the respondent from those who choose single family freestanding as their house type preferences and found out that nearly 80% of them are female, while only 80% of the respondents were male. This shows that most female preferred have single family freestanding type of house. From another perspective, we also do filter those who choose to stay in a single family freestanding type of house by their age. Now we already know that most of them would be female, this one. And from the chart below, we can say that majority of them would come from the youngest age group, which is 18 and 24, followed by the age group of 45 and 54. So the age group for that choose single family freestanding as their house preferences, the first is age group 18-24, and second one is 45 and 54. From both of the previous chart, we do more analysis where we get those who are female, which is 80% of the respondent, which prefer to stay in the single family freestanding type of house, and find out the fraction of their age group. Therefore, below chart clearly back up previous age group statement, whereas the first rank age group still 18-24, followed by age group 45-44. This one relate to this one, but this chart actually just from the 80% of female, so it's still the same number and fraction of age group. Next, we would like to go on what would be the rank for most primary consideration when they are trying to choose a house. The below chart shows that comfort is winning the majority from the respondent, followed by location, while the least consideration would be to impress another person. This one, usually the least reason for them to consider when buying a house or looking for a house is to impress, while they will choose a house that is most comfort and have a good location. After knowing that comfort and location would be the most primary consideration for buying a house, we compare them by their age group. From this, we can see that all age group have the same consideration when buying a house, regardless of their age group. The pattern for every age group is the same, which is the first one would be comfort, the second one would be location. There's is quite a few difference, and one of the difference we can see here is for group age 45 till 54, whereas their third consideration would be ease of maintenance and not cost cost effectiveness. So for age 18-24, we can see that the third consideration would be cost effectiveness. But for group age 45-54, this red line, they have lower cost effectiveness vote than ease of maintenance. So they tends to choose house that would be ease of maintenance rather than cost effectiveness. To summarize for question 1, which is which house is suitable for different type of relationship status. From our data analytics, we found that married and singles do have different preferences. From a broad perspective, we can see that married would slightly prefer to stay in single story house compared to singles who would more prefer to stay in multi-story house. The chart shows clearly that singles and married have a different type of house preferences. But from a more specific perspective, you can say that having a child is very critical to their house organization preferences. This is because we found that if they are married but did not have a child, they would also belong to the same group of singles who did not have a child, where they would prefer to stay in a multi-story house instead of single-story house. Next, age is also a huge factor in determining their house organization type, which is the younger generation would prefer to stay in multi-story, where the older generation would prefer to stay in single story. For their house type preferences, we can conclude easily that most of them, regardless of relationship status, age, or gender, they would likely to choose a single family freestanding type of house compared to another type. Lastly, for each respondent to buying or choosing a house, all of them would have the same primary consideration, which is to have a comfortable house would be their first priority, followed by a good location. Even comparing through their age group, most of them would also have the same answer for the most primary consideration when choosing for their house preferences. So for this question 1, if we're going to relate to the stakeholders, when the stakeholders, for example, house developer, have this data and chart analysis, they should take in mind to develop a house that will make the house buyer feel comfortable and have a good location. So a house developer can benefit from this data analysis. So I will go to question 2. Which accessory space are suggested for the developer to build inside the house? In order to know what accessory space to consider, we try first to know what might affect the customer preferences. The graph below shows that the most desired accessory space is deck patio, if preferred by almost 106 response. Then garage as second most preferable accessory by almost 54 response. However, the most response prefer combination of garage, deck, and basement as accessory space. Now let us look at how relationship affect these preferences. By looking into the next graph that shows the relationship status of the response, it seems like deck, patio, and garage are almost equally preferred by both single and married, while there is a significant difference shows that married are preferring the combination more than singles. So usually married would like to choose a combination of deck, patio, garage, and unfinished basement or finished basement compared to other relationship status. So below is the percentage of the age group that choose the combination of all accessory, which age 18 till 24 has the most percentage with 40%, and make the youngsters most likely wanted to have balcony, basement, and dedicated parking. So this shows that most of youngsters would like to have balcony, basement, and dedicated parking. Next, below is the most top and low desired accessory based on the response recorded. This shows that basement is the most top rank that has the most number of response. Actually, this is the combination, which is deck, patio, garage, dedicated garage parking, and basement, which is more than 120. It shows that the attic had the most low rank of the desired accessory space, which only one response. So usually when buying a house, a house developer should consider to put a combination of this accessory space, because it attracts more buyers when they have a good combination of accessory space. As the previous graph and chart has shown, that garage, dedicated parking, deck patio, balcony, porch, basement is the most chosen as desired accessory. Based on below graph, Merit choose garage, dedicated parking, deck patio, balcony, porch, basement as most desired accessory. Then only garage, dedicated parking, and single choose deck patio, balcony, porch as most. So this one is the same as this one. Next, I would like to pass the presentation to Sultan.
So the third question is about which house is most suitable for the married couple. So you can see in this graph, the highest number of respondents we have received on the survey is 33 by singles with no children. But if you notice the blue and orange and red and the green colors, these three colors are all partnered or married couples with different type of children. That means like most of our respondents are being answered by married couples. That's why we are focusing about what is the most suitable house for married couple. So to answer this question, we need to take a look about single and married preferences. And the first thing is we need to focus on is the type of the house when they want to buy or they want to build something. So as you can see from the first graph, the most preferred, the most desired factor is the comfortness of the house and the location of the house. This is what married couples usually focus on. And the last thing they are interested is to show off or the convenience of the house. The second graph, you can see that married couple, they almost like do not prefer any of multi or single story house on other. But if you see this compared to singles, all you can see most of them prefer multi-story house. So to relate this with the relationship status, we also find the most married also preferred to stay in the single family freestanding type of the house. You can see like here, the most dominant color is the purple, which is almost 94%. This is how married and partnered couples prefer their house to be single family and freestand. So as we mentioned early, that the comfort and the location is the most important for married. But if we go deeper and we see how many numbers of children they have, we can see there is some small difference in some parts. If as you can see in the ease of maintenance, there is the number of families with 1 or 2 children are more preferable to have easier maintenance house. But overall, the most desired feature is the comfortness and location, and the lowest also is the impression of others or the convenience, while some of them only have a few different preferences. Our fourth question is focused on pet owners and if they have a different type of preferences for their house. Like our stakeholders is house developer, and when the house developer is dealing with pet owners, they want to know if they have some special requirements or preferences. You can see here the first graph shows that most of our respondents have either dog or cat and or both of them. So the first graph is comparing between the preference of multi-story or single-story house. Not like the previous example of married. Here, pet owners really prefer multi-story house, which like give them more space for their pet. The second graph, you can the second. Can you scroll down a little bit? Okay, these two the first and the second graph here. No, the last one from the previous page and the first one from the next page is for comparing about cat and dogs owners. You can see that they both agree that they want a single family freestanding house, but there is like small difference between them, that cat owners do not mind to live in higher than third floor house. So not like dog owners. Dog owners prefer to be closer to the ground or at most like in the third floor. If you scroll down a little bit, you will see like the also the owners of both cat and dogs are having the same opinion about it, and they also prefer to be lower to the ground and have a free single family and a freestanding house. And last thing here is about the accessory. If you remember earlier, Ikhwan mentioned that the most preferred is the combination between garage, deck, balcony, and the basement. So here also the pet owner also prefer that kind of house where they have more space for their animals, especially dog owners. Cat owners that does not mind so much like having smaller space compared to dog owners. So in the future and in future advisors in this series, we will highlight some of the other key findings related to the housing preferences of house buyers and other markets. To summarize, based on the survey details, it appears there is an explicitly specific demand for specific variety of housing products than is currently being provided, which represent an opportunity to grow the market in settings where such a product are appropriate. This is shown throughout all the graph findings and the data analysis we have done, and we are previously show you. This is shown throughout all. This is shown throughout all the graph finding and data analysis. For example, we can see that respondent is married. That's married would significantly prefer to have single-story house than multi-story house, which contrast with the single respondent, which clearly showed that the majority of them are linear toward the having multi-story house rather than single-story house. From this, we can say that most married would be like to have house which is more comfortable for them. This statement is backed by another graph which shows most singles who have who would be in the younger age group preferred to have a multi-story house. The reason behind these preferences would be because younger age still has strength to go for the multi-story house, even if it's not freestanding type, while the most married would like to avoid hassle of having to use stairs. So as you see, this is how we did our project, starting from the data pre-processing and the analysis using Google Colabs to clean our data, choose the higher quality attributes and to get the best result and the most accurate result, and showed you as we try to visualize it through graphs and give some explanation about it and some findings and some suggestion for our stakeholders such as house developer and house buyer. That's all, I think.
Yep, I think
Thank you
that's
for
all.
watching, and sorry if we take long time.
All right. And